Okay, welcome everyone to this class once again. It's time already, and this week we actually started on CSS. So I don't know if anyone gets what we explained last class, which is on Monday, about what CSS is all about. Can anyone give me what CSS is about? Anyone? Or what do you understand by the class? Or what do you understand by CSS? Okay, Mr. Sai said CSS helps to enhance the design and layout of the web page. Okay, Mr. Francis said CSS is for styling and designing the web page. Okay, cool. You are both correct. Any other opinion, Mr. Liu, Mr. Murphy, Mr. Sunday? Okay, cool. Yes, yes. CSS also allows to add animation. Thank you, Mr. Francis, for that. Okay, right now let's go to our class. So, intro to CSS. So, this is our course outline for this week. We have the introduction to CSS. What can you do with CSS? What are the advantages of using CSS? How can we work with CSS? The syntax, commenting in CSS, the selectors, setting colors and background, formatting fonts and text. So in the introduction, so what is CSS? CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. So what is Cascading Style Sheets? What does it mean? So CSS is the standard style sheet language used for describing the presentation, that means the layout and formatting of the web pages. So what does that mean? CSS is the key presentational technology that is used in web design. So what we are trying to say about this is that CSS is what we use that gives our design or our web page the structure, the HTML structure, that gives it a cool feeling, like that make it presentable to our clients or our users, so that they're able to see what we have built. So like for instance, let's say CSS is the design we applied on our house when the structure has been put in place, the house as a building, the design, those talasso, those tie, those color, those paints. That's what CSS does. So CSS is like what make our web page stand out, what give it that kind of presentational design that make it appealing to user. Anyone gets what I'm saying? Okay, cool. So going. So what can you do with CSS? So what can you do with CSS? Actually, there are lots more. There are lots more things you can do with CSS. One, you can easily apply same style rule on multiple page elements. You can control the presentations of multiple pages of a website with single style sheets. You can present the same page differently on different devices. You can style dynamic states of elements such as over, focus, etc. That's not possible otherwise. You can change the position of an element on a web page without changing the markup. The list does not end here. There are many other interesting things you can do with CSS. So what does this mean? They are saying that you can easily apply same style rule on multiple elements. So with CSS, you can apply different type of style on each element on your web page with CSS. And with CSS, you control the presentation of how your page will look like. with only one CSS file. And also with CSS, you present how your pages or your websites display on different devices. That means when we are working with responsiveness of a web page, that's when we use CSS to make our web page responsive on each screen of devices. Another thing is we can style the dynamic state of elements such as hover. Hover is whenever you put or you hover your mouse on an element on a web page, and maybe you see the thing display some kind of animation, or the thing change color, or the thing change the font, the size change. That are possible because of CSS. Another is focus. CSS make the maybe our mouse or kind of element of our website to focus it, to make it more lookable some kind. Also with CSS, we can change the position of an element on our web page without changing the markup, meaning that we can, maybe we have h1 and h2, we can easily change it to be side by side without actually placing the h1 the elements side by side. We can easily do that using CSS, and there are other lists of things we can do in CSS. So what are the advantages of using CSS? So this advantage, like, should we use CSS? Is it a yes? Is it a no? Or maybe I should use? So let's check it out. So advantages of using CSS. The biggest advantage of CSS is that it allows the separation of styles and layouts for the content of the documents. So what does this mean? Like, we have our markup language, which is the HTML, and we also have our styling language, which is CSS. So with CSS, we give us ability so that we're able to debug our code faster. We're able to structure what we want to structure faster using CSS. I don't know if anyone's understanding that. Yeah, okay, yeah. So let me continue. So another advantage of using CSS is like CSS saves lots of time. Like CSS gives lots of flexibility to set the style properties of our elements. Like you can write CSS once, and then the same code can be applied to groups of HTML elements and can also be reused in multiple HTML pages. That's one of the advantages. Another is easy maintenance. CSS provides an easy means to update the formatting of the document, to maintain the consistency across multiple documents, because the content of the entire set of web pages can be easily controlled using one or more style sheets. Another advantage is page load faster. So CSS enables multiple pages to share the formatting information, which reduces complexity and repetition in the structural content of the document. It significantly reduces the file transfer size, which results in faster page loading. Those are all self-explanatory. So going further, another advantage of using CSS is superior style to HTML. So this tells us that CSS has much wider presentational capability than HTML and provides much better control over the layout of your web pages. So you can give far better looks to your web pages in comparison to HTML presentational elements and attributes. This one is self-explanatory, and we make use of it yesterday. Another is multiple device compatibility. So CSS allow web pages to be optimized for more than one types of device or media. Using the CSS, the same HTML document can be presented in different viewing style for different rendering devices such as desktop, cell phone, etc. Are we getting that, everyone? Are we getting that? Can I hear? Are we getting that? Okay, cool. Cool. So working with CSS. How do we work with CSS? Cascading style sheets. So one, in order to work with CSS, we can include CSS in HTML documents, meaning that CSS can either be attached as a separate document or embedded in the HTML document itself. And there are three methods of including CSS in an HTML document. So one is inline styles, using the style attribute in the HTML start tag. Another is embedded styles, using the style tag elements in the edge section of a document. And the third one is external style sheets, using the link elements pointing to an external CSS file. This may be sounding foreign or not clear to you, but as we are going, you understand what I'm trying to say. So now the first one is inline styling. So inline styling are used to apply the unique style rules to an element by putting the CSS rule directly into the start tag. It can be attached to an element using the style attribute. Actually, this one, you can see this example right here. We have actually tried it, and should we to do the example, or when we get to the main part you should do it? What do you think? Should we do the example right now, or when we get to the main part? That's when we should do the example, since we still try it out. What do you think, everyone? Yes, I am. Thank you. So what do you think, everyone? I'm waiting for your response, so I should continue. Okay. I'm not getting something right now. Miss Cecilia said go ahead. You should go ahead, continue with the class, or we go ahead with the example. Mr. Sunday said let's go to the main part. And Mr. Sai said let's see an example. Okay, let's try an example out. Can you all see my Visual Studio? I have a HTML5 boiler plate already. Can we all see this? Can we all see my Visual Studio code? Okay, cool. So now let's have some random tests, random things on the web page. Now let's use, I want to use semantic row. I want to have my nav in the head. I want to have some another list. I want to have list. I want to have I want to have about. Are we all seeing this? I also want to have contacts. Okay, cool. So that's that for my header. So let's go to the main. So my main, I want to have some section on it. So in the section, I want to have one heading like that using H3, and in H3 I want to say inline CSS example. So under it I want to have some p tag and some lorem presume, and also I want to have another p tag with lorem presume. So are we all seeing this? Can we all see this in my can you all see my code editor? Can we all see this? Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So now let's say this is my h1 element. Okay, sorry, let me run this in my browser so that you can see it. So I told you guys to install this extension which is called live server. So if I should click on it and go live, it will create a live server, a local server for me, which whenever I do any changes on my web page, it will be reflecting directly on my live server, which will be open on my browser. So let me click on it, and so you can see this is what we have right here. So now let's go back to my code. So now let's say, for instance, in my, okay, let me do this. Sorry about that, everyone. Oh, I'm not really sure about that, but you can try it. You can try it out, Miss Cecilia. So now I hope you can all see my screen, and this is my page which I. So now I want to use the inline styling, like as we said here. Let me zoom in. Oh, sorry about that. Mm, 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 mm. Sorry, I have to exist. It's not. But I hope you can all see the screen. I hope you can all see the code editor too. Can we? Can I get a reply from that? Can we all see the screen? Can we all see the code editor? I'm waiting for your response, or I should continue. You just want to carry us along. Okay, cool. So now to use the inline styling, this my h3 here, which is this, I want it to I want to change the font size, I want to change the color to red. So in order to do that, I'll use the style attributes, which is style. And what's now the properties I want to, so I want to change the color. First of all, the color should be, I want it to be green, and as I save, just look at the browser, you see it is applying directly. Can you see that? So the font size too, let me change the font size. Let's say I want to use 50 pixels. As I save, it will apply directly. Can you see that? So that's how we use or apply style to our HTML code or HTML structure using inline styling. Are we all getting that? So now let's say, for instance, this is our p tag, the first p tag. You want to make sure that the style is, you want to make the font size, want to make it 30 pixels. Now we save, and you see that it stand out. So I hope you all get that. Do you all get that, everyone? Okay, cool. So now let's continue with the next one. So the second one is we have the embedded style sheet. So what is embedded style sheet? Embedded or internal style sheets only affect the document they are embedded in. So embedded style sheets are defined in the head section of an HTML document using the style element or style tag. You can define any number of style elements in an HTML document, but they must appear between the head and the closing head and the opening head and the closing head tag. So now let's take a look at the example of that. So now let's try something again. Can we all see the screen right now again? So like the embedded style sheets must be in the head tag, not in the body tag. Must be in the head tag. So to do that, this is my code and I have my head. So under title tag, I'll put my style tag in it and this. So instead of me now using this inline styling for my h1, h3 and p tag, I can easily do that using the name of the element. The name of my first element is h3. So I'll just come to my style embedded style tag here and I'll put h3. So after putting h3, I'll use curly brace and I'll enter it, and I'll now put the properties or what I wanted to apply. So the properties is I want to make the color green. So I will write green. So green is the value. Okay, I actually use h3 just to use it for using sake, not because there's anything with it. I can actually use h1, but it's my preference. I just prefer to use h3, not h1 right now. So you can use any heading elements you want. No, actually you can use h1. You can use from h1 to h6. You can use from h1 to h6, but right now I'm just using my preference, which is h3 on this web page right now. That's the reason why. So now all this color all the properties we put in this inline, we put it back inside our embedded. So the font size is a property and the value is 50 pixels. So from this inline I will remove it so that it won't conflict, and so that let's change the color to green so that it won't look like the same thing. Let me change it to blue. So and I save. If I go to my browse page, you see it's changed dynamically back to blue with the same size. So now let's do for p tag too. P tag curly brace property p tag. I want to change the font size from size to 30 pixels, and I will remove this one. And mind you, please, if you are using inline styling and embedded, there will be a conflict. What is the conflict? The conflict is the browser or the web page respects the inline styling than other styling than embedded or in external. So if you use inline styling, let's say I use let me do an example here. So for this font p tag, I use font size in my embedded, and now let's now come to my inline styling and I want to use, let's say, font size. I want to use 20 pixels. You see that my web page will respect the inline styling more than the one I put in embedded, because that's how it is. They give priority to the inline styling than the embedded or than the external, because So that can cause a bug for you, and you may be wondering what is going on with my web page that is not working, that one style is working than the other. I don't know if anyone is understanding that. Are we getting that? Or we have question about what is going on? Okay, cool. Mr. Sai say yes. Okay. Are we all understanding what is going on right now? Okay, cool. So, like you can see on the web page. Okay, cool. Okay, Mr. Francis, I should put H1 and H3 together. Okay, let's use that. Oh, sorry about that, Mr. Sunday. So now I have H3 and I have H1. So for H1, let me put embedded CSS example. And I save. And I go back to my browser, which is the live server which we are running. Yes. So, but you'll be wondering, like, why is our H3 bigger than H1 right now? Because I've changed the font size here. If I should remove the font size properties here, everything will be back to normal. Can you see that? So don't get confused. So now let's say we want to apply style to our H1. We use, let's say, color, let's use red, and we applied it. You see our H1 change to red. And the funny thing is, every H1 on our web page we take this we take color red. Why? Is because we are applying the rule to every H1 element, also for H3 and P tag. I don't know if anyone understand what I just said right now. Do you get what I just said? Okay, I mean, you see, we have H1, H2, and H3. H1, we have H1 and H3 on this web page, and we have P tag. So all of our H1, because we have applied this style rule on it, all our H1 we take this default, because this has been the default style rule also for H1 and P tag. So that means every of our H1 and P tag and H3 elements, we take this same color and we take this font size for our paragraph tag. Do you get that, Mr. Sunday? Are you getting that? Hello. Well, class, are we getting what I just explained right now? Okay, cool. So now let's move forward. So the next one is external style sheet. So what is an external style sheet? An external style sheet is ideal when the style is applied to many pages of the website. An external style sheet holds all the style rule in a separate document that you can link from any HTML file on your site. External style sheets are the most flexible, because with an external style sheet you can change the look of an entire website by just changing one file. And we do an example on that. So there's a tip say among all the three methods, using external style sheet is the best method for defining and applying style to the HTML document. As you can see clearly, with external style sheets, the affected HTML file required minimal changes in the markup. Do you get what that means? Do you understand what I just read right now? Okay, good. So now let's okay. No, like let's do an example so that you understand what I'm saying. So this is our HTML file. So to be able to bring our external style sheets, we create a file and we name it maybe style.css. So in this file, this is where we now write all our CSS or style sheet rule. So now let's go back to our H. So first of all, we link the file to the page, to our HTML documents. To do that, we use the link tag. So the link tag is telling the browser that okay, what is linking here is the relationship is a style sheet, and the href means where is the location of that style sheet. So the location is css slash, that's the folder, and style sheets style.css is the name of the file. So now, in order for it to now work, I will copy all these style rule, I will cut it or copy it, I will paste it inside our style sheet file, which is style.css. Because we have linked it, we expect it to work. I remove this. Also, let me remove this internal style so that we see that this thing is working. So if it's not working, we debug what is going on. So this is it. Let's see. Okay, cool. It's not working. Why it's not working is because I did not get the path to my CSS. So I'll go back to my Visual Studio and I'll check it. Now let me add a slash and I'll save and I'll go back. Can you see now? It's now working. So now if you check our HTML code, is neat, and what we just do is link our style sheet, which is here, in a separate file to it. And with this one we can easily do tons of manipulation, tons of animation, tons of different styling here. I don't know if anyone is getting what I'm saying right now. Are we getting it? Okay, cool. If you have any question, let me know. So now let's continue. Okay, so like linking, like what I just, the example we just did right now, this is like linking external style sheets. Before linking, we need to create a style sheet first. So let's open your favorite code editor and create a new file. Now type the following CSS code in and save as CSS styles.css and add the external. An external style sheet can be linked to an HTML document using the link tag. The link tag goes inside the head section, as you can see in the example. So just like I explained. Just like I explained. Did we get that? Yes, sir. Exactly. The way. Now I want to do, let me change the whole page color. Let me use body. Body is also a tag, so let me change the background color from just plain white to, can someone suggest me a color I should change the background color of the whole body of the web page to? Any color, anyone, can you suggest? Okay, let's go with Mr. I don't know. Let's go with Mr. Saeed Gray. Okay, I'll go with each and every one of yours. Let's use gray first. So we use gray, and we check. Can you see? You have the whole page looking grayish. So now let's use Mr. Sunday, which is bronze. Nothing like that, but we can use brown. And we save. We have a brown web page. So now let's use Mr. Francis color, which is black, and we save. We use black and everything is black. Well, let's go back to gray. So do we get that? So now let's continue with, okay, let's do what's with, okay, let's say background body is, let's say font. Okay, no, you use font color. You say color is white. So if you use black, so it will be looking appealing right now. So can you see that is now? So are you satisfied now, Mr. Francis? Is that what you prefer? Okay, cool. So now let's continue. So what are the CSS syntax? So the CSS syntax, or so what is syntax? Like I explained in our first class, in our HTML class, like syntax is the language, how you write a language. What are the way you write a language? So CSS has its own way of writing the language. So right now we'll be diving into it. But as you can see from this structure, you can easily understand or get what you are trying to say. But let's go into it. So now, understanding CSS syntax. So a style sheet consists of a set of rules that are interpreted by the web browser and then applied to the corresponding elements, such as paragraph, heading, etc. in a document. A style rule have two main parts: a selector and one or more declaration. I repeat myself. A style rule have two main parts: a selector and one or more declaration. So as you can see in this example given, the selector is the element tag, which is h1, and the property or the declaration is now we have declaration. So in the declaration we have other two things, which are the property and the value. So in the property is now what we want our selector to be, or what we are trying to select, what we want it to become. So like in this example h1, you want the property color to be blue, which is the value blue. Are you getting that? And another declaration we put for our h1 is we want the text align, which is the property. We want the value to be center. Is anyone getting that? Oh, no problem, Miss Omawumi, welcome. Are we getting what the syntax of CSS is all about right now? Or I should repeat myself? Okay, let me do that right now. So I said understanding the CSS syntax, or understanding cascading style sheet syntax. So a CSS syntax consists of set of rules that are interpreted by the web browser, then applied to the corresponding elements such as paragraph, heading, etc. in a document. A CSS rule have two main parts: a selector and one or more declaration. You get that part? So now I now give us an example, which is we have the selector h1, just like we have in our code right here. We have this selector body. Can you see selector? We have selector body, and we have this property of color, of background color, and the property of in body. Body has different property. Like we can change the property of our background color. Body has different property. Like it has the background color, we have the color, we have different property of the background of the body. So now we're now selecting one of the body properties, which is background color, and we now want to change the color, which is white before, we want to change it to black. I don't know if anyone is understanding that. So that is exactly what we are doing in CSS. We have the two main parts, which is the selector. We are selecting the h1, and 2, we now have the declaration, which is, so it's inside the declaration. Now we are now putting the property and the value. I don't know if you are understanding that, anyone. So like I was saying, like the example I gave here, we have the body, which is the selector. We have the background color as a property, or color as a property, and we have white as the value of the property. Same thing as this h3. We have h3, we have color as property, and we have blue as a value. That is how we declared our CSS. Do we get that? Do we get that, everyone? Exactly. But first of all, it has to be selector first. After selector, we now have declaration. So inside declaration, that's when we have property and value. So Mr. Saik, you restructure that. We have selector. Selector is the elements we are selecting. After selecting the elements, we now have the declaration. What do we want to declare for that element? So inside the declaration, we now have the property and we have the value. Do you get that now? So do we understand what we are saying? Okay, cool. So anyone have any question before we proceed? Okay, cool. So now let's continue, please. Okay, continuation of our CSS centers. So the selector specify which elements in the HTML page the CSS rule apply to, whereas the declaration within the block determine how the elements are formatted on the web page. Each declaration consists of a property and a value, separated by a semicolon and ending with separated by a colon and ending with a semicolon. And the declaration group are surrounded by the curly brace, brackets, or you call it curly brace. So the property is the style attributes you want to change. They could be fonts, color, background, etc. Each property has a value. For example, color property can either have blue or white, just like I've explained. Do we get the clear explanation now? Do we get it? Okay, cool. Yeah. So commenting in CSS. So what does commenting? Commenting is like, maybe you want to specify for, maybe we are working in a group and you want to specify for the other developer that, okay, this color, this what, or this property, or this CSS property, this is what it's doing, or this is what is I'm applying to, this is the session I'm applying it to, so that the developer will be able to, when he come across our CSS style sheet, he'll be able to know what he or she should change or the part he or she wants to change. So how to comment? Comments are actually added with the purpose of making the source code easier to understand. It helps other developer or you in the future when you edit the source code to understand what you are trying to do with the CSS. Comments are significant to programmers but ignored by browser. Yes. So if you put a comment, your browser will not read it. We see it but will not read it. Will not display it. Will not apply it on the browser. But it's for us, the programmer or developer, to understand our code in the future, or for other developers to understand. So, and a comment in CSS begin with this black slash and asterisk and end with asterisk black slash, as shown in this example below. Can we all see this? Okay, cool. Yes, sir. So let me just give an example of that. So now, let's say I want to give a comment in this code. I'll just use this. So I will now say this code is exactly, Mr. Francis, you get it, is for h3 elements tag or h3 elements. Please don't edit. Can you see that? So with this, I use it to give, like, to tell myself what is happening right here in the code, either in the future or for the other developer that I will share my code with, so able to work with it. Are we getting that? Do we get that? Okay, cool. So now let's proceed. Yes, like when we applied it, it won't be run. It won't be run on our browser. It's just a comment. It won't be run. It won't run. It won't run in the browser. So anything we put inside this, from this start tag to this, whatever is inside, the browser will ignore it because it's not for the browser. It won't work. It won't do anything. So do we get that, Mr. Francis? Oh, okay. That hash is used. Wait, let's try this. I used to use that hash. No, hash is for Python. Yeah, sure. Thank you for that, Mr. Francis. Yeah, my SQL also. I think, is it JavaScript or C Sharp? Okay, let's continue. This is not class for C Sharp. So the selector, yeah, this is the main CSS part. So how to use CSS selector? So what is selector? A CSS selector is a pattern to match the elements on a web page. The style rules associated with that selector will be applied to the elements that match the selector pattern. Selectors are one of the most important aspects of CSS, as they allow you to target specific elements on your web page in various ways so that they can be styled. Sorry. Let me repeat myself. What is selector? A CSS selector, a cascading style sheet selector, is a pattern to match the elements on a web page. The style rule associated with that selector will be applied to the element that match the selector pattern. Selectors are one of the most important aspects of CSS, as they allow you to target specific elements on your web page in various ways so that they can be styled. Do we get that? Okay, we are waiting for you, Mr. Sai, right? So do you understand what selector is? Though we still do the examples. Okay, you are welcome. So now let's continue. So several types of selector are available in CSS. So let's take a closer look at them. We have one, universal selector. So universal selector is denoted by an asterisk. So what does that mean? It matches every single element on a web page, on a page or web page. Yeah. So another is element type selector. So element type selector matches all instances of the elements in the document with the corresponding element type name. ID selector. So ID selector is used to define style rule for a single or a unique element. And the next one is class selector. Class selector is used to select any HTML element that has its class attributes, and all the elements having that class will be formatted according to defined rules. Do you understand what I explain right now? Do you get that? Though I will still give us example of each scenario. ETS. Okay, so element type selector. So element type selector is actually the one we have been using here. So element type is, we are using H3. So H3 is the element type. We have been using it. Like body 2 is another element type selector. H1 is another element selector. And P tag is also another element selector. Do we get it now? So it matches all the elements that have H1, that have P tag, that have body in our page. Do you understand that, right? Okay, cool. So now let's go and look at each example. Oh, sorry about that. So okay, now let me show you each example of universal selector. So the universal selector is in the code. I hope you can see this, right? And I'll put comments on each. So but currently let me comment this out. Okay. So let me put a comment. Universal selector. Okay, can you hear me now? So universal selector. Okay, cool. So universal selector, you can use it using the asterisk sign, which is this, and you use the curly brace. So this, what's it called? The asterisk is the selector, just like we see when we want to declare a CSS, and we use the curly brace, and inside the curly brace, that's when we put our declaration, which is the property. Let's say property is fonts, and no, let's say font family, and in our value we can use different font type. Let's use Time New Roman. Okay, let's use Cambaria So okay, Mr. We put our declaration in that curly brace brackets or curly brace or curly brackets. We put our declaration, which is the property, which is the font family, and we also put the value, which is the name of what we want to put. Now let's also say for the whole document, which is the universal selector we are using, let's have the background color to be gray. So I save, and let's go to our web page and see. Can you see that? So if you check, you see that the font size, the font family, or the font of our web page has changed. The background color too has changed. That is because of the universal selector we use. Do we get that right now? So now the next one is element type selector. So element, though we have used element type selector, element type selector. So in this selector, so now let's go to our markup language, which is the HTML. Yes sir, yes. So in our HTML we have UL, we have nav, we have different tags. So now let's choose a tag or an element that we want to use that we want to apply style rule to. So now let's use the p tag, for instance. So in our style sheet we use p, which is the element type, and now we put our declaration, which is property. What is the property of p we want to change? Let's say we want to change the color. Color should be green, and let's also say the text declaration, it should be underlined. So we save and we check our web page. We see that all our p tags are now in green and they are all underlined. Are we understanding that, everyone? Are we getting that? Okay, cool. So the next one is ID selector. So let's go to our code. So ID selector. So ID selector. So in order to use ID selector, first of all, we go to our markup and we give the elements the ID name. So now let's say, for instance, this is our h3. Let's give it an ID. The ID should be h3 heading. That is the ID I give this h3 element. So in order to use this, and this ID is unique to this h3 only, so if I even apply style to h3, all the h3 elements, it won't be applied to this one if I've already declared it in my style sheet. So let me show you an example of what I'm saying. Let me have two h3 elements. So now let's do that, because I already declared the ID. So now let me use the ID to apply style. So in order to use ID, first of all you use the hash, and now you now put the ID name. The ID name is h3 heading. So you can see, and I'll now declare my, so h3 heading. What do I want to put in h3 heading? I want to make h3 heading. I want to make the font size. I want to make the font size to be 30 pixels. I want to change the color to blue. What else again I want to do with h3 heading? I want to I want to make the background color to be pink. So I save and I check our web page. Can you see that it's applied? So if you see that I'm having two H3, so now let me use H3 element selector type to apply style to all the H3 elements, and let's see if it will work or not. So H3, and let me say the font size should just be 20 pixels, and the color should be white. So please watch closely. So let's go to our web page. Can you see it only applies to this second one? It doesn't apply to the first one. The first one, because I'm already applying a style rule using the ID, that's why it's not applying to it. But because the second one, no ID, no selector is on it, I'm using element selector, that's why I apply only to it. Is it clear or is it confusing? Like this, I'm having two H3, and one I put ID, the other I did not put any ID. And the first one I use the ID to declare to apply style sheets. The second one I use general element tag to apply style sheets. And yes sir, so it depends on what you want to design, it depends on what you want. That's why you use specific type. But so like for this H1, which is the ID, is unique only to that H3. Are you getting that now? Any question, anyone? So now let's go to the the last one. What does that mean, Mr. Said? I'm not getting that. So the last one is class selector. Okay, I understand. Wow. Okay, cool. Okay, so now the class selector. Now to this class selector too, we go to our markup language, our web page. So and we now give class attribute to elements we want to apply style sheet to. Now let's say for this second element tag, I want to give it a class name. Let's say second H3. That's the class name I put. So in order for me to now select it or to apply style to it, I will come to my style file, and to apply it I'll use the period, which is dots. I'll now use the name of that class, and the name of that class is second H3. I hope you can also see that. And now I will now apply my declaration. So now for the second H3, I want to make the font size. I want to change the font family. Actually, the font family, I want it to be impacts. So I want to also make the font size. I want to make the font size to be 60 pixels. And I also want to change the color. I want to change the color to brown. So, and I click on save, and I go to my web page to see what is going on. Can you see? So using class is what the class element give me. So the first one I'm using ID, the second one I'm using class for the H3, and the word body I'm using universal, which is the asterisk, and for this paragraph here I'm using the element selector, which is the p tag. Do we get that? Anyone have any question? Do you all get that? Okay, cool. Cool. So now any question, anyone? Or you think there's something you are not getting right now? Are we all getting that? So now I hope we can all apply different CSS styles on our web pages. Like you can use it, you can use maybe universe selector, you can use the element type selector, you can use the ID selector, and we can use the class selector, and we can link our elements, we can comment on our code, we can link our style sheets on our web page, and we can give our element class, we can use ID, we can use element tag. I hope we can all do that. So have you have any question, anyone? So now it's time for question and answer, actually, because we are through for now. We are through with the. Actually thought I would take you guys tomorrow, but I think we are through for the whole class. So, but I don't know if you have any question, but be expecting this slide tonight or tomorrow morning in on Google Classroom for everyone that needs it. Be expecting it, and the video too latest Friday you'll be getting it. So I don't know if anyone have any question or you have something you want to get clarification on. I'm waiting. Are we? Are we? Okay, yesterday's slide. Yesterday's slide. No, don't use slide yesterday. Actually, we are working on assignments yesterday. The assignment I gave you us previously. That's what we are working on yesterday. We are not working on slide yesterday. Are we? I don't think we are working on any slide yesterday, miss. Oh, and that's why I say you should chat me up. I can take you through it, Mr. Sunday. And please don't forget to fill the attendance form. But okay, you know what? Okay, hello guys. Do you want us to go through the that yesterday assignment again for the purpose of people that did not attend the class? Because yesterday actually I did not record the class. That's why. Do you want us to go through the assignment again, or we should just let it go like that? I don't know if that's what Mr. Francis said yes to. Okay, okay. So what about? So do you think we should do that tomorrow, or we should start tonight? We should do it tonight, right now. Okay then. Okay. Okay, Mr. Said. So, do you want us to do it tomorrow? Cause or maybe you want to do something right now, or you want us to start tonight and we round it up tomorrow? Okay. So everyone, are we cool with tomorrow to do it tomorrow? Yeah, that's the thing. We don't really have class tomorrow. That's why. So we just should we use tomorrow to do the to know that tomorrow we are focused on only that HTML assignments. Okay, cool, cool. Okay, then tomorrow. So that means you have to come early to class tomorrow. Don't let us come late. Or what time do you want us to start tomorrow? Since tomorrow is not class day, so what class do you want us to start? Is it the same time or you want a specific time? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Same time is cool. So let's be in class early then. Okay then. But are we sure we get what CSS is all about now? We can easily work with CSS because I will actually give you guys assignments to do against tomorrow. So be expecting assignments. Yes. Okay, cool. So should I give you assignment or you practice it then and I should not give you tomorrow together with the assignment I'll give you tomorrow for the weekend? What do you think? Okay then. So assignments will be tomorrow after the class. Okay. 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 So okay, cool. Please don't forget to fill the attendance form. And so next week, then we'll be starting with JavaScript. That's when we'll be. That's what will make us to sweat. You just be sweating on the seat. Okay, let me send that. That's when we now be. We are. Hey, oh. Actually, when we get to JavaScript, you guys will be like, what? What? But actually, it will be awesome. Just it will be awesome. It will be fun. It will be fun. I mean, don't think it's programming is programming. No, it's hard, but when you put the passion, when you put your work, when you put the work in it, it's very sweet. Yeah, because if you are first starting out, it will be looking like this thing is like will I get it? But when you have people that are mentoring you, how you have people that you can easily go to for question or to it will be very fun. Programming is actually fun, actually, like because you'll be saying wow, so I can easily do this with just typing code and everything, boom. So that's one of the privileges it gives. Yes, you're welcome. So so okay, yes, actually the next class is that the next we have another class which is teaching us WordPress. But we need to first ask the basic knowledge of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript before we can actually work on WordPress. Because when we start the class on WordPress, we will actually be touching the theme. We'll be editing the theme to suit our need. That's why we are taking us through this HTML, CSS, and JavaScript class. So after this, by next month, we start another class which is for WordPress and we teach us the in and out of how to build a WordPress site and how to host it on your server. Exactly. Thank you, Mr. Sahi. Yes, WordPress will just be like, so this is what these guys are doing. See, like there is this funny thing we used to say, like we used to like in developer group, like WordPress developer are just mere web designer because they don't work. They just do drop and drag because they don't have tons of things to do. But actually, they are saying that because they already have the knowledge of HTML and CSS and they can easily cook up the code and make it up. That's why they are able to say that. But someone that doesn't have the prior knowledge of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you'll be looking like those people. I'm saying, you people don't know what you are saying. You are flattering. You continue, Sha. Yeah, exactly. Just like wins, just like wins. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. But actually, yeah, WordPress made a lazy programmer. But actually, WordPress is something you easily work with so that the work will be fast. Exactly. Thank you, Mr. Francis, for that. As long as it's work to get the work done, that's the main cocoa. Get the work done, and the payment is coming in. And sharp, sharp. Exactly. Thank you, sir. Yes. It's not about working. Hey, yes. No problem. Actually, no. Like it's before. I don't. I think that they used to say like it's before that people say hard work pay, but now it's smart work. You work smart and you make your cool cash. So it's smart work pay. Yeah. So, but for you joining this class, there's tons of resources that will be shared out. Like there's some developer cycle you must join, and I must make sure you join. I must make sure you join, and I will approve you in it. Some conference or some group you must join so that you like another thing about program is if you are not consistent with it, you won't what's it called, the team, you won't be able to really go further because if you are not consistent, you are just doing one leg in and one leg out, you easily forget it. So but if you are consistent, practicing, having being among the developer circle, and as you are saying things, you are also contributing, you are bringing program problems, you are also contributing to it, it will make you stand out. Like let me share an a scenario to you guys this evening. Like a kind of a complaint contacted me from Japan, and they sent me some kind of algorithm test. Don't worry, you get to what does that mean later. So algorithm test to work is a kind of programming test whereby you do it and to get kind of placement. So they sent it to me, and I didn't really get this. I just quickly chat my guys on the upper cycle group, and they quickly sent me like kind of a similar solution, and they say if it will not work, I should just try my own solution. But so the later corrects me that okay, this solution will not work, but just try your own. Let's see if it will. And I did it, and the thing showed me 100%. Let me share you the screen of what is sent to me. Like it's 100% correct. I was like, wow, this is cool. So so this is it. This is the test summary. I just crop small of it to show you guys. So this is a JavaScript test to find kind of integer, like, and it has to it's kind of algorithm work like that, and it's something. And I have another one to do maybe around, sometimes I have like 60 minutes to do that. So if you are consistency with practicing with, it's something. Exactly, yeah, we can learn anything we put our mind into. Yes, we can. Exactly. Just like there's this there's this quote or this word by Theodorus Roosevelt, which says our deepest fear, like our deepest fear is not our inadequate, our deepest fear is our blah 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 blah. So we kind of limit ourselves to of what we can do, not knowing that we can actually do it. Like if you all these like some programmers, like you hear their name, you be like blah blah, all these people are but it's also through their own consistent learning, through their own continuous learning, like put it in their minds to it, that's when they're able to achieve the level. Like those guys that I don't know if you guys know Andela, or do you guys know what they call Eden. So there are some people that build it and they are young developer like us. So it's when we put the passion into it, we're able to achieve that. Yes, yes. And you know what? And I would be very happy to work with each and everyone. I want like every one of us to bring maybe a kind of startup. Like I will really appreciate to work with you guys. Like maybe before the end of this year or before the end of this month. Like I want to hear. I have this idea. I don't know if you can build it up, and you don't know the next. It will be the next big thing, and people will be running. The name will be household name. So I know with this understanding, we should be able to come up with something. Maybe we have an idea of a project we want to work on, and I'm I'm available. Just chat me up. You can do something together. So I hope you all have a wonderful night rest, and people in other countries, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thanks for your time tonight. You are all awesome. You are really awesome. Thank you. So expecting you guys tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow to do the assignments. So thank you everyone. Let me see everyone. Thank you, Mr. Sunday. Thank you, Mr. Francis. Thank you, Miss Rukaya. Thank you, Miss Omawumi. Thank you, Mr. Saeed. I hope you all have a wonderful night rest. Have a wonderful day. And God bless you all. And God will keep me for you all. And God will keep you for me all. So, have a wonderful time, everyone. Bye. Yeah, God bless you all.